Alright, today we're doing a rear wheel hub passenger side on my 2009 C6 Z06. If you've never done a hub before, don't stress. This is one of those jobs that's totally doable if you take it step by step. I'm going to show you everything from start to finish. I'll put socket sizes and torque specs on screen so you can follow along without guessing. If you're doing this because you've got play in the wheel, noise, or you're just being preventative, this video will get you through it. Let's get into it. Alright, here's the hub I'm installing. This is the SKF rear hub bearing assembly. You can see the part number on the box there. I know this one is one of the more expensive options, but you don't have to go with the SKF racing hub. You can get a quality OEM style hub from a reputable brand. AC Delco, GM OEM style, other aftermarket options people like, Timken, Moog. Just make sure you're buying from a trustworthy seller and you're matching the correct side and year. I'm going with the SKF because I want the most confidence I can get, but the install process is the same no matter which hub you choose. And before we get started, here are some of the main tools you're going to need if you want to screenshot this. And all of this will be in the description along with some links. I'm doing this on a lift, but you can absolutely do the same job on jack stands. The process is the same. Alright, first step, obviously get the wheel off. I'm using a 19mm socket on the lugs. Next up, we're removing the rear brake caliper. We need the caliper out of the way so we can get the rotor off and access the hub hardware behind it. A really important warning here, do not let the caliper hang by the brake hose. Some guys like to put it on the axle, but we will need to shimmy and move the axle out of the way, so do not do this. As soon as the caliper is free, support it with a bungee cord, a wire, or a caliper hook. Slide the caliper off the rotor and set it aside safely. What you should see after this step is the rotor fully exposed with nothing sitting over it. Next is the axle nut. This is one of the tightest fasteners on the whole job, so I'm using a strong impact to break it loose. If you don't have an impact, you can still do this. Put the car in gear, have someone hold the brake, and use a big breaker bar or even a cheater pipe to get enough leverage. The key is to make sure the car is stable and you're not rocking it on the stands. The impact gun is great for removal, but when we put it back on, we will be using a torque wrench. Once the nut is off, the axle can move in and out slightly. This is normal. We're not pulling the axle out, we just need to free it so the hub can come off cleanly. Next up is the rear outer tie rod end. We're doing this for clearance so we can get to the upper and lower ball joints and pull the knuckle off the car. We're not removing the hub bolt on the car, we'll do this on the bench. I'm going to remove the tie rod nut, and if the stud wants to spin, I'll hold it with the hex in the end while I back the nut off. Then I'll give the knuckle a couple light taps with a hammer just to see if it pops loose. Sometimes that's all it takes. In my case, it didn't, so we're going to step up to a ball joint separator tool next. I'm using this Harbor Freight ball joint separator. Just a quick heads up, right out of the box, it did not fit the Corvette joint perfectly, and you don't want to ruin these boots, so I had to modify it slightly just to get it to sit where it needs to. Nothing crazy, just grinded the opening. I'll show the exact spot so you don't waste time fighting it. You can also rent these tools for free at your local auto parts store so you don't have to mess with all this. But I'll also leave a link in the description to a better ball joint separator. Alright, now we can seat correctly, tighten it down and let the tool do the work. Apologies for the angle, but there's a better angle later in this video. You're looking for that little pop when the taper breaks free. And one more tip, keep that nut threaded on a few turns while you're separating it. It protects the threads and keeps the joint from dropping suddenly when it releases. After it pops loose, we'll back the tool off and move on. I like to put the nut back on the stud so it doesn't disappear while working. Next, we need to free up the parking brake spring. This just gives us the slack we need so we can move the knuckle around without the parking brake hardware fighting us. I'm using a pick here, but you can also use a flathead screwdriver, a small pry bar. Go slow. You don't want to slip and tear the boot, snag a wire, or stab yourself. The goal is to just unhook the spring cleanly and set it aside. Once it's released, you should notice the parking brake mechanism has a little more freedom and the knuckle can move without tension. Next, I'm just unclipping the ABS wheel speed sensor harness from the hub so the wiring has slack and doesn't get stretched when we move the knuckle. I'm not pulling the sensor itself, just freeing the harness. Next, I'm freeing the parking brake cable from this bracket. You just lift the cable to release the tension, then slide it out of the bracket. Alright, now we're going to turn the knuckle to get access to the upper and lower ball joints. This is why we freed up the tie rod, ABS harness, and parking brake. It lets the knuckle move without fighting us. As you turn the knuckle, just watch your lines and wiring, make sure nothing is stretching, rubbing, or getting pinched. I'm starting at the upper ball joint first. I'm going to remove this with an 18mm ratcheting wrench. The ratcheting wrench here is perfect. There's not a lot of room to work with a full socket. Just like before, I thread the nut back on a couple turns before the separator goes on. That way it protects the threads and keeps the joint from dropping the second it pops. A little pro tip, don't have any camera gear resting on your spindle. Next is the lower ball joint, and this is definitely tighter. There's way less room to work down there. I couldn't even fit a ratcheting wrench in like I could on the upper. So this step, basically, just be patient. Get the tool seated on there and work it a little bit at a time. So next step is to get the ball joint separator in there and break it loose. But this gave me the most trouble for one simple reason. There's basically no room, especially with that axle in the way, so I couldn't fit the tool in there to separate the joint. So here's what I had to do. First, I jacked up the suspension slightly to take some load off. Then I removed the upper A-arm off of the spindle. You can remove the axle nut here completely so that you can shift it as far back as you can. As you can see, the axle shifted way far back, giving me ample room to fit my tool in. After that, same process. Keep the nut threaded on a couple turns for safety, tighten the tool, and wait for that pop. If you're following along and you're stuck here, don't force it. Relieve the load, get some movement in the knuckle, and it'll go. Once the lower joint is separated, we can finally take the lower ball joint nut the rest of the way off. The knuckle is basically free now. So I'm going to shimmy it off the car. It might take a little wiggle to get it out cleanly, but once it's free, we'll take it to the bench and swap the hub there. Doing this on the bench is way easier because you can actually see what you're doing and you can hold the knuckle while you work. First, I'm going to remove the hub fasteners from the back side of the knuckle. You need a T55 Torx and keep the bolts organized so they go back exactly where they came from. As you can see, an impact gun was very effective except for this last one. So I'll just have to do it by hand. As mentioned before, keep track of all these bolts. As you can see, only 2 of these have Loctite on them. The bottom bolt near the lower ball joint not having anything on it. Now remove the clip that holds the female plug side of the harness. After this, you can remove the hub from the spindle. It may come out easy, it may not. If it's stuck from corrosion, don't panic, that's normal. A little penetrating oil and some controlled hits with a dead blow on the hub flange usually does it. The goal is to get the hub out without damaging the knuckle or the mating surfaces. Before the new hub goes in, we need to clean the mating surface. This step is huge. If there's rust or debris trapped in there, the hub won't sit perfectly flush, and that can lead to noise, wobble, or the hub loose over time. So I'm going to use some all-purpose cleaner, hit it with some brake clean, and make sure it's clean and smooth all the way around. You're not trying to remove metal, just remove corrosion and crud. When you're done, the surface should look uniform and the new hub should be able to sit flat with no gaps. Next, I'm cleaning the old thread locker off the hub bolts. On mine, only 2 of the 3 bolts had thread locker on them, and you don't want that old dried stuff giving you a false torque reading or making the bolts feel gritty on the way back in. So I'm just wire brushing the threads until they're clean and smooth. If you've got brake cleaner, a quick spray helps too. Now that the bolts are clean, I'm applying fresh thread locker. If the hub hardware uses thread locker from the factory, you want to replace it. Old thread locker doesn't really count. You don't need a ton, just a small amount on the threads, then we'll install the hub and torque everything to spec. Factory came with red Loctite, I only have blue, so that's what I'm using. And I didn't put any on this bolt because it didn't have any from factory. Alright, now we're installing the hub and running the bolts in. I'm using the impact here just to drive them in and seat everything, not for final torquing. Once all the bolts are started and the hub is sitting flush, final torque on these hub bolts is 96 foot-pounds. Now 96 foot-pounds is a lot when you're torquing on the bench. You're going to need a way to hold the hub so it doesn't spin or slide. I used a vise and I positioned it so when I torqued, the hub wanted to rotate into the table, not away from it. That gave me enough resistance to hit torque cleanly without fighting the whole assembly. Once the bolts are torqued, the hub should be fully seated, no gaps, and everything feels solid. Reattach your harness and let's get it back on the car. Quick golden nugget here. This might not happen to everyone, but it happened to me on the other side when I did that hub. After I torqued the new hub down, I spun it by hand and noticed something weird. It was catching and would not spin freely. The bottom hub bolt was just barely catching the backside of each of the wheel studs. When I compared the old hub to the new SKF hub, you can clearly see the stud backs, the flange profile were a little different, just enough that the clearance changed. So here's the move. Before you put the knuckle back on the car, spin the hub and check for any contact. If you hear a tick or feel it catch, do not ignore this. On mine, the fix was simple. I took the bottom bolt and just gave it the tiniest kiss on a grinder, just enough to get that clearance. Then I reinstalled it and verified that it does spin freely. Again, you may not run into this at all, but it's a 10-second check that can save you a ton of frustration. And now we can put the hub assembly back on the car. I like to line up the axle through the hub first, then guide the knuckle into the upper and lower ball joints. If you need a little help with alignment, you can jack up the suspension slightly to take the load off and make the joints line up easier. Once everything is seated, start all the nuts by hand so you know they're not going to be cross-threaded. We'll snug everything down, then torque to spec with the suspension loaded. Quick note on torquing everything, you don't need to torque every single fastener under load. The rule is rubber bushings get torqued at right height. So if you loosened any inner control arm bolts, toe link pivots, anything that clamps with a rubber bushing, you want the suspension sitting at normal right height when you final torque. If you torque bushing bolts at full droop, you can preload the bushing and it'll wear out way faster and it'll sit weird. Everything else, ball joint nuts, tie rod nut, hub bolts, brake hardware, those can be torqued with it hanging. Here's another quick sheet of torque specs and sizes if you want to screenshot this. Alright, now we're on to the axle nut. You should use a new nut. There's a lot of back and forth online what the part number is. There's a new revision, a bulletin. Some guys say the nut is 34 millimeters. Mine personally was 33. But regardless, do your research, get a new axle nut. And the final torque per SKF is 151 foot-pounds. The main trick is keeping the hut from spinning while you torque it. On jack stands, 6 gear plus someone on the brake is the easiest way to hold it. Once that's torqued, the clamping load is set, and now we're finishing the reassembly and doing our final checks. I have some new rotors, so I'm just going to put a new rotor on instead of the old one. Alright, that's the full rear passenger hub replacement on a C6 Corvette Z06 start to finish. At this point, you should have everything torqued, brakes back together, and the axle nut set to spec. And don't forget to plug in your harness and reattach your parking brake cable. Before you drive it, pump the brake pedal until it's firm, then do a short, easy test drive and listen for any noise. After that, I like to recheck for play and just visually confirm everything looks tight, retorque the axle nut. If this video helped you, drop a comment with what step you got stuck on. I'll do my best to point you in the right direction.